greatest mysteries of the world should be so simple that a child could get it, and most kids do get it. That's why my kids are some of my greatest teachers, and if they're not teaching me something, like you brought up, Sybil will remind me of what the fuck really matters in this present moment.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Hip here, coming to you with another episode of the Tattoo Guardians podcast. Do you like my glasses? Life's fucking unfair. Matt's under pressure. And it's kind of funny, especially now in hindsight. What do I mean by that? I don't know. I guess you're just going to have to tune in and listen. Imperfect action equals restoration, motherfuckers. I don't know either. Keep watching. Tattoo Guardians podcast. Hey, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Here we are. Again. Another fucking week with the Tattoo Guardians.
You sound so privileged.
Thank you.
You sound moved with fire.
Yeah, fire burns.
I feel like you've just moved our listeners with such passion. I think this episode's over.
Mic drop.
How are you, brother?
Good.
Good to see you.
Yeah, you too.
It's been so long.
Yeah, I know. What's up with these stupid flowers?
We had Tattoo Business Mastery and Next Level yesterday, and Hip and I were down here at this table. I was coaching for 12 hours, and I'm sure Hip was at least with me for 10 of those 12, weren't you?
Yeah. I came in at about 3 for Next Level.
What time you leave here? 1 or 2 a.m. or something like that? Or
1.
Yep. Uh-huh. Got some rest, and we're back here to podcast.
Yep. It's a weekly thing. It's the regiment.
Man, dude, giving and giving, serving and serving. Some people may think we just are tapped into like an endless supply or wealth, which really that's what we live our lives trying to stay tapped into. But we're human, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes we have days like today where it can feel either depleted or, man, what should we give today, right? And of course, Hip and I were talking before the show of how I feel a great sense of responsibility to bring you guys our absolute best. But Hip, we all got friends in our lives that help us see what we can't see and to help balance us out. Like, even if I lean towards shit getting heavy, Hip will help me keep it light, right? And in that, I was telling Hip, not only do I feel a sense of responsibility, but almost pressure. I put pressure on myself because I want to do great. And Hip's trying to just annihilate that with me today. And almost forced me to come on this show today with no plan of greatness. And he was saying, in case I get too woo for you all, Hip's like, hey, our listeners don't want it to all be so deep and heady and sometimes just want it light and fun, right? Is that what you're trying to help me see?
Yeah, that, or at least the initial intent, because just it's in our nature to already head that direction eventually. Like, there won't be an episode where fucking Matt doesn't pull some kind of fucking life or positivity from it, and I like that as well, so I always jump on those coattails.
But you're almost trying to get me not to today, or not to even fucking worry about it.
More so to like relieve yourself of the pressure. And here's a great thing. At least we're here podcasting and we're not like laying in bed fucking beat up from chemo. So that's a plus.
Well, yeah.
And that's where Josh is today. Getting some much needed rest.
Yeah.
Which is always fucking totally, he needs to do what he can to be full, healthy, and thriving, because that's what's in the cards for him. That's what I'm declaring.
Yeah.
So like, I think of things like that, and like you talk about like pressure, and when we were talking about this, Matt didn't know if like I just was because I'm cool with any outcome. We can talk about fucking interior design or internal controversy, anything but fucking religion and politics. I can hang with somebody on, but to like not feel the pressure of like, you know, thinking that we have got to fucking deliver such a message of hope. Because I get tons of messages from you guys, and it's weird because like little things that I'll say or Matt says or Josh says or our guests have said, you'll write me and tell me like how mind-blowing it was. And to us, it's just like second nature. And it's cool to see that there's stages of our lives, because there was a point in time when like I couldn't even get with half the shit that we talk about on this program. Back when life was like real unfair, and now today I'm in a constant state of growing and trying to learn new things. But just sometimes it's good to just not have pressure on me and just know that like just me being here is enough.
Do you say so?
Because it is. You know, we just need a warm body to fill your chair, you know. As long as we got that, we're good.
Yeah. Well,
but again, too, not to interrupt, but we complement each other well. Like all three of us. Like I've got my the package I bring, you got the package you bring, and like we do like a fun little dance between us, and it's people like it, I guess. You know, people seem to like me more. I'm just joking. But it's needed. Both sides are needed. Yeah. So
I think it stems from a place of like almost perfectionism, which we know in some areas of my life I'm not a perfectionist in a lot of areas, but some areas like I am, or when it comes to presentation, delivery. But I believe that people deserve my best, our best. But I can get out of line with that on the pressure. But when you're tattooing, you feel the same way. You believe someone deserves your absolute best, right? But most of my life, since I was all about presentation, perfection, we ain't going to do it unless we doing it right. We ain't going to come unless we coming hard. We big. We doing it bigger than everybody. We're not doing it unless it's going to be epic. And until I can figure out how it's going to be the best, the biggest, the most epic, then we're not doing it until it's ready for that. Well, that cost me to do a whole lot of nothing. Because there was never a time where it was the best, right on time. I'm absolutely ready. I'm finally, you know. So a mantra I've had to take on in recent years is this thing called Imperfect Action. And boy, today you're really helping
you
me.
Uncomfortable with it?
Yeah.
Good. That's cool. Because, I mean, honestly, yeah, I'm a little uncomfortable with it too, because, you know, I want to look cool. I want people to like me, ultimately. But there's something, I don't know, just organic. I remember, this kind of reminds me of what we're going through right now. It reminds me of back when I used to be in a band, and like I was a Nazi songwriter. Like I didn't want anybody else's input, and I wanted to write the bass lines. And I just had input on everything, and I had to make it perfect. And then like we would release a song, and we would play the song multiple times, and I would listen to it more and more and more, and I would realize like where notes needed to be added or taken away. And ultimately the song would never be finished. And, you know, you said imperfect action. Well, if you really break that down, every single thing we do is in perfect action. Like
You're right.
Everything.
You're right.
You know, who was it? Salvador Dali said, don't be afraid of perfection. You'll never achieve it. So it's like, I guess perfection or perfect timing or presentation is just like the beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Because, you know, like we took this course, me and Matt did. It was called Landmark, and it talked about like everything we do isn't for ourselves. It may be disguised as that, but ultimately it comes from self-centered fear because we want everyone to like us. So the cologne I wear, yeah, I like the way it smells, but I wear it more so people can smell it. The way I dress, I think that people won't like me unless I wear all black, and the shirt has to be Dickies, the shoes have to be Adidas or Vans, because if not, people won't like me. So it really, yeah,
What the fuck you wearing them Hey Dudes for?
I'm not. I got Vans. I got them creamies on.
Good. Don't bring them motherfuckers up in here. Just kidding.
And those Hey Dudes are splatter shot days.
Yeah. Man, I was walking through Meijer the other night, and
they ain't got those at Meijer.
Hey Dudes.
They ain't got Hey Dudes at Meijer,
I'm about to
dude.
send you a video like all your people are here.
Well, then I'm about to go there after we record.
Yeah, dude, get one in every color, man. They got a new line out. You can just slip them right in, boy. Ready to go. Oh, shit. Yeah, so back to Landmark. Yeah, it helps you get free. One thing it helps you get free of, starting being aware of how worried you are about looking good to the rest of the world. And we all do it. Like the things we do, the thoughts we have is riddled with, because like you said, we want to be liked and we worry about looking good. What could your life look like when you get free of that? Well, we've gotten free of it. But sometimes
to a certain extent.
I'm saying, and then sometimes it fucking comes back on. It's like, oh, I got to get free of that again. Right? There was a time where I was so free, I didn't care. I'm going to be my best self, my best life, take me or not, and somewhere along the line, you can start to care a little bit again, a little bit too much about looking good.
Yeah, that's why I appreciate and envy little babies. Like Sybil, right? She fucking runs through Matt's house butt ass naked, looks like a little drunk person.
Yeah.
Doesn't care, has stains on, touches you, hands sticky as fuck, like just doesn't care.
Yeah.
I appreciate that because there's like so much freedom in that.
Yeah.
And so if you take that mindset, I guess, or whatever, freedom, we'll just call it freedom, and then
childlike.
Right. If I could just download how to tattoo into her brain, and there was a machine that she could hold, and she was able to just put out, how badass her tattoos would be, because she just wouldn't give a fuck.
Right.
She would just be having complete fun and enjoying the moment versus because she's not thinking about like bedtime or what she's eating for dinner. She's like living and enjoying the moment. Yeah. And I remember my Facebook profile is a picture of me at about her age, and I remember that day it was at a fire department in Jamestown, Ohio. My hair's wild as fuck, and it was just snapped, and I think we were doing some sort of family photos or something, but I was just being a wild, crazy little kid that just didn't care. And I remember days lasting what felt like months in just playland and imagination land. And I didn't think like, oh, who just texted me? My phone just rang, right? Who texted me? Who is that? What's that mean? How many likes am I getting? Yeah. This consultation, I got to do 2 of them tomorrow, I'm a treasurer for a particular group, so I got to like collect the money and make sure it goes where it's supposed to go. All these things that ultimately don't matter. But I don't know how to get to that fucking state.
Well, and you're saying when you see yourself in that picture of how you were as a little boy at the fire department, you brought up your hair was all jacked up and shit, and you see that now, but you don't remember on that day feeling weird that your hair was jacked up.
Fuck no.
Because you were just free. You didn't give a fuck.
Yep.
Right, and there's a big difference of you and I, meaning like this shit started with me young. Now, one, I'm an identical twin brother. Somehow my care, and especially when I was a kid, I know it was like to a fault, overboard. I cared so much about presentation that every morning, and I'm talking I was by age 4, 5, would lay out both of my brother's clothes. I would dress them. This was in the 80s. I remember doing their hair before kindergarten. I'm feathering it with a blow dryer and a brush and spraying their bangs back. Now, my brothers didn't give a fuck. Todd didn't give a fuck. I did. And they looked too much like me. So therefore, especially my twin, he was a representation of me. And so I couldn't even be free to go play until everything was like perfect looking. And I remember, dude, I just had a flashback when we were kids. Our parents would go play racquetball at the YMCA and put us in the daycare, right? And this is a moment where, even at a young age, maybe I was 4 or 5, realizing that I was bound up, because I remember looking at other kids playing, other kids with bedhead, their hair jacked up, playing with Tonka toys, trucks, and trains, free as can be. And I was sitting in the daycare chair, almost like a parent, looking at the clock, worrying, waiting on my parents to be done, watching my brothers, watching all the other kids play. And I didn't play. I wasn't freed up to play. And I was too concerned about everything in life, and didn't even want to fucking mess up my hair or whatever. But I remember noticing other boys and their hair was so jacked, and they didn't seem to care at all. And I think early on, that was my first like radar going off measuring stick of realizing there's a difference here, even though I couldn't unpack it then, you know. So that deal's kind of like been on me from that day till now. And I've gotten freed up in so many areas. I mean, geez, look at my hair today. It sure looks like somewhere along the lines I didn't care about my hair being perfect, right?
What do you mean?
Yeah, but you know, I haven't had a haircut in over 22 years now.
So it almost sounds like you're doing the Benjamin Button of the process.
I am, and I have been. I'm more freed up today than ever.
Dude, by the time you get 60, like,
man, look out.
Fucking goddamn
yeah.
fucking American flag fucking do-rags.
Hell yeah.
Fucking hey dudes.
Some Oakleys. Hell yeah, dude. Get me something with some T-tops. It's on. Give no fucks.
Matt Dierte.
You know, you brought up in the beginning of this conversation something about back when life wasn't fair. What did you mean when you said that?
Oh, no, I said life is unfair.
I know, but you said that.
Oh, back when it was when it was fair.
I thought you said back when you were living when life was unfair.
I don't even fucking remember, but I know what I meant when I did say the word unfair, and it's just like a perception that like I had to grow into, because you know my daughters will say that like my oldest daughter, her boyfriend messaged me himself and asked like how much for a tattoo. Now he can't get it until he turns 16. Or 17, I can't remember what his parents said. But I told him, like, hey, come to my house. I got some, like, dirt that can fucking go here and be moved to here. And then we'll work something out. And he was like, okay, cool. And overhearing that, my youngest daughter was like, said, like, muffled under her voice that, like, that was unfair. And I remember, like, well, I was like, well, you know, he asked me, and your boyfriend hasn't reached out and asked for that, you know? But then it just made me think that, like, she said that it's unfair. And then I always bring that back to, like, just life in general and everything I've gone through, right? So what I'm getting at is that I'm grateful that life is unfair, because play any scenario out that I've lived through, right there is why I'm grateful life is unfair, because I'm alive. And I can't tell you how many things that I've done that I shouldn't have been able to live through, but I did, because life isn't fair. And if life was fair, technically I wouldn't even be here. I would probably be serving a life prison sentence somewhere or dead. So I'm grateful that life's unfair. Now, I can't remember exactly why I said it earlier since we've been recording, but what I was getting at was that people bitch about life's not fair. Well, fucking good. You should be grateful that it isn't. Because of life not being fair has allowed me a life to where I can amend my mistakes and my wrongdoings and continue to still do so on a daily basis sometimes. Sometimes I do get a break and I don't cause harm, but a lot of times I still do, because I'm growing and I'm applying imperfect action. So yeah, that's what I was going with when I said life is unfair.
What do you mean imperfect action? You getting fucking woo on me? Yeah,
yeah, it's just one of my sayings that I like to say. Y'all can quote me on that. Actually, and the real whole saying goes, imperfect action leads to restoration.
Yeah. Ah, shit. We'll have to say that for another episode. Today, we're here to talk about absolutely nothing.
But yeah, even like with your history, dude, fucking, if life was fair, you wouldn't be where you're at. You would probably be facing a life sentence and you know.
Or dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As many times as I can think about stuff, I shouldn't be, if life was fair, I shouldn't be allowed to fucking tattoo people the rest of my life. I shouldn't be in a podcast. I shouldn't be allowed to be in your house unintended. I shouldn't have a license or a car. People shouldn't give me money. I shouldn't be allowed to have a bank account. But yet I have all these things. I'm still allowed in my parents' house. I got a key to their house when they're out of town, which they never go out of town because they're getting older and they like fucking playing games on their phone.
Dude, probably some of my most favorite people on the planet, and you're one of them, are the people who, it's who they became out of the unfairness of life. The people that have been through so much, whether from their own doing, their upbringing, which is usually all intertwined, been through so much hell, seen so much pain, so much hurt, caused so much harm, have been harmed and caused harm, and have lived in harm, and somewhere along the line, found restoration, whether it was by them taking responsibility, the pain got great enough, the people that decided fucking finally to somehow break through that being a victim and being what I call, it's a made up word by love, being a creative overcomer. Someone's going to overcome against every odd, against their upbringing, against not having a father, against being addicted, against hopelessness, whatever the case may be. We all got our stories. We all got our past. We all got our hurts. We all got our pains. I definitely got them. My most favorite people are the people you'll meet that have been through the most hell, and you'd never know it by meeting them because they are the light to the world. And it's not because, and most people misconstrue them to think they don't know my kind of pain. And if you really knew, those people have more pain and have experienced more death, more loss, fucking abuse than most. Somewhere along the line, they became creative overcomers and aren't a victim the rest of their life, and actually they got beauty for ashes, have turned their pain into their power, into their love. And those are some of the most inspiring people to me, and I'd like to be one of them, be known or looked at as one of them.
I would say you are.
Yeah.
It's funny too because I always say, like, when talking about stuff like that, I always say like they've lived a Saw movie, like the movie Saw, like it's a horror fucking movie. And yeah, people that have gone through a Saw movie usually are the biggest teddy bears, the most compassionate, hard to fucking make angry, very forgiving.
But they're like, that wasn't fair.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't fucking fair.
Yeah.
And I see two people when everyone knows life ain't fair. There's two sides. The people that are still on the side, victims complaining, life ain't fair. Look what's happened to me. And then there's people on the other side, oh, we know life ain't fair. Look who I've become and what I'm doing in spite of anyhow.
And find gratitude in the fact that life isn't fair.
Man.
Because no matter who, we're all fucking can be shit trucks at any given day. And I say all, meaning everybody ever in existence. And we can also be fucking beautiful, inspiring, productive, giving, selfless individuals as well. So if life was fair, none of us would be here because we've all done something that fucking we needed to atone for, that we got some grace on, right? Because like I like that word because I was extended some grace. And it's funny because like a lot of times I'll be riding by myself and I'll see the fucking homeless crackhead flying a sign or sleeping in a tent and just no teeth, fucking skin, leathery, beat up, and just ready to like be manipulative and take advantage of a situation to chase a bag. And only by grace, there go I. And I need that, and I'm grateful for that because like he should be dead, she should be dead, I should be dead if life is fair, right? So be grateful that fucking life is unfair because the creative side that all of us have enables us to be an overcomer if we choose to be, or we could stay stuck in that. What you were talking about just a minute ago is the life's unfair, life's unfair, this, that, I fucking can't tattoo because there's 30 other tattooers that do the same shit that I do. And you know, it's like complain in one hand or get into the solution in the other. And only through being a complainer and being a victim and fucking up and living through pain have I finally realized, like, it took me going through all that to get the gift that I have today, which is the gratitude and knowing that life's unfair.
And you said until someone, whatever, decides. And I think that's what leads us to the imperfect action. You know, everything you've been through, the unfairness, and then the gift who you are today. But where's the gap? Where's the bridge? What brought you from that land of hell into where you are today? And I have seen you take imperfect action all along the way that has led to your freedom. There was never like one certain day where you're like, I'm going to wake up today and have this deal all figured out and I'm going to be fully healed from my past and free from it. That day, like, never came. There's no one monumental
Still
day.
ain't coming.
Man. But there are monumental days of choice, of decisions. In our world, especially your world, one of those major pivotal days is a day of surrender, right? Which to me is a form of imperfect action. You ain't got it all together. You ain't got it all figured out. You ain't got the fucking crystal ball of how it's all going to work out, but you're taking imperfect action. Step one, surrendering, right? And I've watched you take imperfect action ever since, which has led to your freedom, which has led to your life being restored time and time again. Your relationships have been restored. Your life's been restored. What are you laughing at? Should I use a different word?
No, I was just thinking back when I fucking looked at the camera and said that was my saying. And you, just for our listeners, it's an inside joke. I just told Matt that, like, that's way too fucking woo than for me to steal it while we're recording and fuck. That's the inside. That's why I'm laughing.
Okay. And apparently I'm just my default settings on woo, because when I'm just being my normal self, Hip's like, you are still too woo for half our listeners. I'm like, dang it.
Which is cool. Like, and I appreciate it. And what it is I think that I have compassion for some people that, like, could be off put by that. But to me, I appreciate it because, one, I know your background and where you come from and all the shit you've lived through to get to be where you're at and your heart. But also I appreciate it because it calls me and people around you that are willing to do what you did to get to where you're at to a higher way of being and a different frequency to radiate at. But, you know, from time to time, like you were saying at the beginning, like, we're our sounding boards. And we just got to trick you to the beginning of the podcast of talking all silly and goofy and shit. And we're just going to build and build and build. And it'll be all right. We're going to grow together. You know,
start fucking building.
We have been.
Have we?
But I can only imagine things that, like, okay, if fucking Matt's like this, then what are his fucking coaches like on a fucking daily basis and to be around? Like, it must just be constantly fucking, you know, I like to think that I keep a mirror in my face, and maybe I do because, like, maybe there's a part of me that's, like, so fucking woo that people just can't fuck with, like the experience we had fucking yesterday at the restaurant with one of my friends. Like, just him being in my presence was very off-putting, and I could feel that, and I couldn't even look him in the eye because I was so ashamed for him. But that's just who I am and how I operate.
That's what we compliment, because while you couldn't look him in the eyes, you guys are close, and you know he's in a dark season and rough time, and he's been out benching whatever, and you both knew it, and he knows who you are because you've loved him and supported him. You still do. You guys couldn't almost make eye contact. You were feeling awkward for him. Your heart was breaking for him. Simultaneously, I'm across the table from both of you, and I'm dead staring him in his eyes with all love and acceptance, letting him know, like, dude, you can come home if you want.
Right.
You know, But you had a point to that.
Oh, I don't remember. Fucking, I mean, your point was probably better than mine. But it's what the point was that basically, like, real recognize real, and we complement each other. And the thing that I bring to the table is different than the thing that you bring to the table. But when we start auditing our circles and surrounding ourselves with people that are like-minded with the same vision that we have, there's a lot of growth that happens.
And it flows.
Right.
There's a fine line because, yes, on one hand, we're all about stepping into our greatness, to our best self, right? But the dance is not to a detriment, not to a fault, not to like being discouraged with our own personal growth of who we are, where we're at today. There's vision, but also acceptance, love, and peace for where we're at in our journey right now. So the dance is how do you strive for your greatness to be your best, but not be plagued with worrying about it. And something that's come to me recently that I'm stepping into a greater understanding of, so that one day I can even speak on it, is these two words came to me: resting in action. Resting in action. And what does that look like? How can you like be striving to be your best, but at rest?
You know what that reminds me of? People that go to sleep and make money while they're sleeping.
Well, that's literal form of resting while shit's,
Right.
But I'm even talking about in your head space, in your heart, when you got a plan, you got a vision, you got a to-do list, whether you're working out, whether you're working on your portfolio, your business, your goals, your vision, and you're mapping out action plan, all the while taking in perfect action, but all at the same time not putting pressure on yourself like I can do.
So you're speaking more of the internal controversy.
Correct. Being internally at peace, at rest, while you're taking mad action.
Sounds like a lot of acceptance.
Maybe. And I feel like we already dabble in it, but some days when I'm in the midst of action, I'll forget the rest part.
Like the pressure that was building for today's podcast.
Because since we didn't have a clear plan today, and I feel like, well, I'm showing up to an appointment not prepared, so I can't be at peace, I can't be at rest, even though we're taking imperfect action, but I'm not at rest because I wasn't whatever I thought I should be, right? And so I think it's the dance of stepping into your greatness, but also giving yourself a little bit of room. And I know you try and help me give myself some room. That's the dance I'm still practicing. And we all do, because we all feel, or most of us feel, a tug from someone, a sense of responsibility, expectations. You're a tattoo artist. The client's expecting you to show up with your A game today and drop some magic on them. And how can you be prepared to do that but at rest? Sometimes planning helps that. When you already know your approach, your stencil's ready, all that's good, right? And once you've done the right pre-production and the planning and the plan of your action, now you can be at peace while getting in action. And so I think planning is a big part of it. And maybe on the days when we're not fully got a clear plan is when I can feel pressure to figure it out real quick.
It's weird how these, because Matt had pointed out that the same way I approach the podcast, because after we record the podcast, I usually don't listen to them unless instructed by him or Josh to get feedback, because I don't know, I think it was recorded and it was put out and it's going to be good. And after last night's teaching, I don't want to say good, because I was about to say good enough, but good gets in the way of your greatness. So does every single move I have to make be great? Which is debatable, because you could say yeah, and then others could say no. But I would say that I don't think that matters as long as each action is aligned with the vision, and the vision is great, which leads right into imperfect action.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, maybe this episode doesn't hit as hard as X episode, or maybe this tattoo doesn't fucking hit as hard as the tattoo I did fucking 2 months ago. And I was saying that like they're running parallel with each other because like when I first started tattooing, it was very like, figure it out, or a lot of walk-ins, you know, and people that have experience in walk-in shops, it kind of gives you that, kind of builds up that pressure valve, and it's like you can work more under pressure and like come up with shit on the fly. Well, we had an artist at Aisle 9 when we first opened that like would push something that he had the capacity to do the day of, but to make it perfect out a week. So he would push the client out a week versus like just taking it right then and killing it and having the same results as he did working on it for a week, except the fucking mental fucking games he was playing with himself.
Yeah.
Well, eventually he moved on and went to another shop. And me and Mac would always talk about like, man, that's crazy. Like, why don't you just do it? And I found myself starting to fall into that and like wanting to make everything perfect. Well, up until recent times, like the last few months, I would ask different artists. I took that course in Vegas and I asked Steve Butcher, I'm like, look, how long do you take to plan for these appointments? He was like, well, I work 6 days a week. I'm only off this day. The last thing I'm trying to think about on my day off is fucking the tattoos I got to do for the next following week. So I don't even fuck with it until they show up. And I'm like, cool. That's validation I needed to hear. Then I asked, a number of other artists. And then it wasn't until recently I had my tattoo teardown with Russ Abbott on Launchpad last week. And I asked him, like, will you wait until the day of or a couple days of to start designing for your client, or will you give it weeks? And he's like, well, you know, with these prices, don't you think that they deserve weeks? But then also too, I had to take into effect that there's two different artists. Steve Butcher doesn't fucking draw and design illustrative work where Russ does. So like I have to put that into place. And ultimately it comes right back to what you were talking about, like a dance, but it's a dance with oneself, myself. And it's like, there needs to be, it's a balance. It's a gray area because I'm black and white. Yeah. It's either this or it's that. It's either going to be fucking a great podcast episode or it's going to fucking suck ass. But I always forget to fucking look at the gray area, and there's a whole world of the in-between. And what's in the middle? Balance. So it needs to be a little bit of both. Like I need to suck ass and be great all at the same time, I guess. And there needs to be a little bit of preparation and a little bit of on the cuff. And staying in that maybe is where the acceptance and like the resting, would you say resting in action?
Yeah.
Could come from.
Yeah, right. Well, and then taking imperfect action. Now, by you taking action, you're taking a step. Now you're at least into the doing. But because before you do that, we all get trapped in analysis paralysis, like the artist you were talking about, who could very well pump that tattoo out today. Nope. He's going to push it out a week or two because of his mindset, feeling not ready. But that would usually be to his detriment because now he's in a week-long waiting room of tweaking himself out and redrawn 100 times, riddled with anxiety, versus sometimes just throwing yourself in the game and you just don't have that much time to think to become your own worst enemy, right? Regardless, taking imperfect action leads to the doing, which we know more clarity comes in the doing. Right. Once we're in the doing, most of us hold ourselves back from even getting into the doing of the thing that we said we wanted to do or be, and we're stuck on the starting line because we're not even willing to take the first step because we feel flawed. It ain't perfect yet. I'm not ready yet. This is where imperfect action is your get out of jail free card. The gates will open. We're bound up in the gates when we just tell ourselves all the reasons why I'm not ready, I'm not good enough, not today, I got to do this, X, Y, and Z, I got to take another course, another program, maybe I need a new mentor before I'm ready. These is shit I used to tell myself. And all that led to my growth. But eventually, one day, someone had to be like, Matt, just fucking start doing it. and more will be revealed. You and I could stand on the edge of the pool and read books and watch YouTube videos of what it's like to swim and to study all about how water feels on our legs. But until we fucking actually just get in the pool, only then will we really know. Well, whether you do the perfect dive or not, imperfect action, just get in the water. Instead of just studying about it, learning about it, we need both. But get in the water, and then more will be revealed. Oh, I was watching videos on how to do this. Well, now I'm actually in the water, and I can feel it, right? Taking imperfect action, clarity comes in the doing, more will be revealed. So wherever you're at in your journey, we can't stress enough, no matter how ready you feel or not, whether you feel like you're good enough or not. If you don't feel you're good enough, welcome to the club. Welcome to the human experience. So now what? Hip calls it pushing the button. Do it anyways. Step out and do it anyways. Well, you don't understand my past, my pain, where I've come from. I've fucked so much up, so many people up, so many relationships up. Cool. Sounds like you could stand a dose of restoration. What leads to your restoration? You got to decide and start moving towards the thing and the person you wished you were.
So you're telling me if I want to be restored, I can't just sit there and it's going to happen?
Well, it's situational, but your participation, even if it's from just in your heart, plays a huge role. You know, the doing doesn't have to be an external physical thing every time, but it's a heart condition. Are you ready to surrender? That's doing something. Mm-hmm. Are you ready to open up to more possibility versus just hanging on to all the things you're not and all the reasons why you suck? You know, you can get in action in your head and your heart before you ever start moving your limbs. Before you got in the water, your heart and your head had to decide first. Fuck it. Today's the day. I'm just going to jump in. Right? One leads to the other, but it comes from an internal state first before it's manifested externally. You know, but the good news is you don't have to be perfect to take action. And if you really want to know more what's on the path, you've got to get into the doing of it. Ready or not, I got news for you. Most of the time, you're not going to feel ready. Like today, I didn't feel ready for this podcast, but we're fucking doing it, right?
Last night at TBM, so like sometimes Matt will come down late and I'll start it right at the said time. And I was just kind of like not fucking feeling it. And then, I don't know. I started worrying about other people's expectations of me. And it forced me to do it. Mm-hmm. And my attitude didn't feel right. I didn't feel like in a normal headspace.
And it was noticeable, right? Other students hit you up like, dude, you cool, right?
Well, that was after
next
level. Which next level comes first, then the entry level after that. But yeah, someone at next level noticed it, and I was tired and was just kind of like blah, I guess. So me literally pushing the button. We got a mouse sitting on the table to start the video feed and begin the call and start listening to everybody share their wins. Just the act of me doing that, I forgot about everyone's expectation about me and what I'm supposed to be doing. My feelings instantly left the room, and I got to enjoy a present moment, and that carried me for the whole class. And I even think I pointed that out last night, but it was like I could have stayed stuck. And yeah, it's something simple like, dude, it's your fucking job. Just do that. Yeah, we get it. But if you take that and put it on your situation and your mountain and whatever you're trying to overcome and what you're trying to surrender to surrender from something to something and just do it, the tangible act of me hitting the fucking button created tons of possibilities, a shift in my mindset. All that fucking naysaying that I did to myself instantly was transitioned, and I was in the moment. and it was a great class. And it's fun to be able to even reverse engineer that and see it in real time, the reality of what I was going through. Of course, it's hindsight, but I wouldn't have had this introspection with it if I wouldn't have done it. If I would have just sat there, who knows what that could have led to. Matt coming out, well, why didn't you hit the fucking thing yet? Somebody may have went off because I waited too long to hit the button to start the class. Who knows what it would have went to. But I know the outcome that had happened because I applied courage, and I call it courage because I didn't want to fucking do it for whatever reason. And I did it, and it's great. And it's actually like right now I'm getting lots of feelings of joy while the camera's rolling, because that's actually, it's way bigger than it sounds to me because it was my mountain and I climbed it. So I really appreciate that I'm even sharing that with you guys, if that makes sense.
I admire that you appreciate that and that you're finding joy in that. You know, because this is where the pressure I put on myself wouldn't be able to appreciate that.
Is the pressure still on you, and has it been this whole time?
It's gotten worse.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I would.
But that might not be helpful for you to know right now. Don't let it jump off on your hip. Save yourself.
Well, no.
And this is where I think in the beginning you were trying to tell me, because you it almost seemed like you don't care as much as I do, right? And I always shouldn't say that because I know you do. But you're like, fuck it. Splatter shot is what you said.
Right.
You know? And yeah, there's a part of me that, man, I can flow and not give a fuck in so many areas. But some, when it's game time, I want to show up with my all. And if and when I don't, I feel bad about that.
So let me ask you this then, because this would be some reverse engineering. You're attached to the feelings currently in this present moment right now, and you're aware of the pressure, and you've even acknowledged that it's gotten worse. I'm over here getting fucking freed the fuck up.
Hell yeah.
So like, boom, we record this episode, we release it, we get hella response. we release it and we get hella responses, and people love it, and fucking it does good, or just the same as every other episode. And it gets back to those same feelings again that you're feeling right now, but it's a fucking month from now. Same scenario.
Yeah.
What can you do to remember this moment right now, and then the experiences to come from the feedback from the reviewers to free yourself up?
And well, ultimately, if I understand the question, I'd like to humbly say I don't know that I know the full answer to that question, but I'll take a stab at it. Which for me, you know, old preacher friend of mine years ago used to say to me, like, Matt, before you go out and preach, prepare your notes as if there's no such thing as a spirit, right, to give your notes life. Prepare as if there's no such thing as a God. Prepare as if there's no such thing as the Holy Spirit, right? And then when you get up there to speak, rely on the Spirit so much as if you didn't even prepare. And the marriage of the two will work out, right? And so for me, I'm, you know, almost in the name of prevention, how I cannot put myself in this boat again. One is to prepare so well, like we usually do, or like we have in the past. Now, other times we didn't prepare and got shot from the hip and it panned out. But if I want to tamper down on my, like, feeling of pressure or worrying about it, to fully prepare for what I think would be a great episode, but then show up here so light and free and remain open, almost not caring, as if I didn't fucking prepare at all. And that the marriage of the two could turn out nicely. You know, to me, that's what I feel like would be helpful for me, to not feel this immense pressure, i.e. not being prepared. Now we just gotta shoot from the hip and hope for the best. You know, but again, wouldn't you say the same would reign true as a tattooer? And it depends on the tattooer, because we've even got a legend and a a guy in our shop who never prepares for a tattoo. He doesn't even want to hear what he's doing on you till 20 minutes before. He can just work right now on the spot. St. Mark rolls that way. He'll draw it up right in front of you, right? But they've worked to, that's how they work. But then there's other guys that, to have peace so they can show up and lay it down on the spot, did need to prepare and do some pre-production. So I think it's to each their own, and that's where self-awareness comes in. I'm a guy that wants to show up with an arsenal ready and then be open on what really is called for today, but at least I got something in my grab bag to pull versus, you know.
So will that pressure still be the same if, say, like you did the preparing and then you showed up free?
That's where I need to work on, because even times when we prepare, I think I still put that pressure on myself. It's just not as bad because I at least got something to fall back on.
Right. And that's a good acknowledgement, but I was going to say, like, me and you settle on a topic, then Josh chimes in and he ends saying, fuck no, that's stupid. I don't even want to fucking talk about that. Now you're back to fucking shooting from the hip.
Or,
no pun intended.
Or the guy that vetoes it, whether it's you or Josh, then the ball's in your, okay, genius. What do you want to talk? Cool. What you got? What you bring into the table, right? That's where I'm at. But before this episode, I was asking Hip, like, hey, what should be our topic today? And the idea he brought up, I immediately vetoed it, and Hip let me know. I always shoot down his ideas, so then we're back to going, what should we talk about, Matt?
And ultimately, we went with, what we did was we had a compromise, because those are important too, is that the topic, and this is why I'm perplexed that you still have pressure, because, and maybe it's just because it just didn't go the way that you seen it going, but the topic was that, like, what the things that we're talking on, and then I suggested that, like, that we start out with something more familiar to everybody, and then gradually grow into, like, the topics we've been growing with. But we're actually getting real vulnerable, more so than the actual topic, which that could cause a bit of pressure, because I do feel that anytime that, like, I'm having, like, a growing spurt in front of people, I can feel my face getting red, or even, like, that moment of joy that I acknowledge, like, that was still, like, I felt pressure to that, because it was like, hey, look at this fucking pussy, duh, or, you know, what the judgments people are thinking about it. So there's a touch of the pressure thing that you're talking about with me. Maybe it's just you're better at identifying it, at least in this setting, than I am.
Yeah. Well, don't matter. No one's listening right now anyways.
Right. So there, no fucking pressure. We don't even have people listening.
We'll check back next Monday. Maybe they'll have something. But you're right. There's something to be said when you brought up my daughter Sybil, who's only 3 and goes streaking through the house not giving a fuck. Even scripture talks about, like, all wisdom, all knowledge, you must become childlike to understand it. And it's all simple. Like, the greatest mysteries of the world should be so simple that a child could get it. And most kids do get it. That's why my kids are some of my greatest teachers. And if they're not teaching me something, like you brought up, Sybil will remind me of what the fuck really matters in this present moment, versus worrying about yesterday or tomorrow. That's hypothetical, don't even exist yet. All we have is right now. And the 2 main reminders and teachers of that is our children and our dogs.
You know,
it's like dogs live in the present moment right now, you know.
It's funny because when I was, like, I don't know, 10 or 11, my grandmother, you know, she was very religious, but she was also, like, super cool too, and not like one of those fire and brimstone fucking people. Good. And she always told me, she's like, you need to read the Bible, Justin. It's just so
that's attractive.
Well, and
I'll get right on that. Turn right to Romans. Thanks, Grandma.
Well, you know, and it was way more compassionate and loving and delivered better. I'm just adding some humor to it, but she's like, and it's very easy. Just you know, it's Jesus. It's so simple. A child can understand it. Yeah, right. And she'd always said that, and, like, you know, it's my grandma. I looked up to her, had her on the pedestal. And I'm like, you know what? Eventually, I'm like, I'm going to try this thing. And fuck reading the Bible. That shit is so fucking hard to understand.
Yeah.
But hearing that so much, it's like, well, maybe I'm just not a child then, because I can't follow that shit for nothing. And, you know, thank God for people like you that can like break some of that down. And, you know, I hear all these sayings throughout life that I never understood. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. I didn't know that was in the fucking Bible. I thought it was just some cool shit somebody said, but I couldn't really grasp that concept until actually, I don't know, living it and then hearing it in the process of living it, or trying to be the guider of the horse, you know, or being the fucking horse. When I was actually the horse, I couldn't understand that. It wasn't until I was the guider of the horse to where I understood it.
Sure.
But so I can get like, because you said they understand life's greatest mysteries. And it's like, well, maybe life's greatest mystery and the single greatest mystery is truly being present and living in the moment.
Yeah, and really not even trying to figure anything else out and just being.
Right.
Like Sybil, she's just being, she's just free.
You could say there's no other mystery.
Man.
That is the one that seems
We're real
impossible.
We're real good at complicating things, aren't we?
What's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, you brought up the Landmark Forum.
Yeah.
So all you listeners, we highly suggest taking the Landmark Forum, and it's worldwide. It's in major cities all here in America, all over the world, from coast to coast and everywhere in between. Me and Hip and half our team took it at one point. Because we as human beings are meaning-making machines, aren't we? We make everything mean something. It's one thing what happened when you were a kid, what happened yesterday, who said what to you. There's a whole difference between what actually happened versus the meaning that we attach to it and make it mean about them, about us, about our life now, all that shit. And so to help get rid of some of our complications and our ways of being and our thought patterns that we've acquired our whole life, a 3-day weekend at a place like Landmark Forum will help you annihilate some of that, just to get your life a blank canvas again, so you can go back to creating a life that's actually serving you and is not riddled with complications and not riddled with all these meanings and attachments, right? You peppered in the Landmark Forum, and since you did, we might as well reiterate, like, it's definitely worth it if you're on a personal growth journey, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, totally. And you know, the more that I notice like all these things that I do for like personal growth, I keep thinking of the process, because it's like you don't just do it. You know, like I didn't go to a couple meetings and then fucking wrote some feelings down and then like poof, there, I'm done. It's like, you know, I heard someone once say like it's called recovery because it's a daily chore. Like yesterday's shower didn't keep me clean today.
Come on. So you know what that brings up? Because we keep saying imperfect action, like do it anyways, right? That's just to get started. But you don't have to live a life of, you do that thing the first time imperfectly. But the point is to actually get better at doing that thing, but to get in the start of it, to get into the doing, take imperfect action, ready or not, get into the doing, get into the stepping, get into the water. But then the next time you do it, and the next time, the point is for you to actually get good at it, right? And that's what you were just talking to. You took imperfect action when you got into recovery. You've spent 9 years getting good at being in recovery, getting better at it, understanding the principles, taking responsibility, getting better at being clean, getting better at being free, and you're better at it today, even though you still take imperfect action, than you were on day one when you took that imperfect action and surrendered, right?
Greater understanding, yeah.
Right. And so I don't want people to think like imperfect action is a cop-out for you to never have to fucking take responsibility and get good at a thing.
Well,
right?
you know,
it's just to get started at the thing.
Totally. And, you know, you've all seen those pictures of like the obese person that just got to a breaking point and something had to give, either their arteries or their fucking ethic, their gym ethic. And then 90 days, a year, fucking 2 years and they've completely shedded their weight. Their stretch marks have gone away. They're healthy. They eat healthy. They've acquired these habits. They didn't become that way because they were just thinking like, man, I just want to be skinny. Right. They put in imperfect action. You know, there's people that have never been to the gym that had to go to the... Actually, there was a point where I never had went to the gym. There was a point where I'd never have held a tattoo machine or done a tattoo. I had to like do it in order to do it. There was a day when I couldn't get through a fucking hour without having a substance in my body to keep my mind out of my own head and sedate myself.
Dude, when you and I met, you didn't have any of that shit.
Right.
I remember you created your first vision board and I had a tattoo machine on it.
And just because I created this vision board, it didn't happen.
Right. Not immediately.
No, I had to like do something in order to get to that vision. I didn't just create it and sit back and wait for it to show up.
When I met Hip, not only did he not have a car, he didn't have a driver's license and hadn't had one in
for 14 years.
I thought it was 15 years, but regardless.
It sounds cooler if you say 15. So yeah, 16 years.
100 years. Yeah, but he didn't have shit. He didn't have no L's. He didn't have no ride. He had to catch a ride to get to the Wendy's, right? Like whatever. He didn't have no money. He didn't have a good tattoo machine. He didn't have anything. He took imperfect action in his heart. Something's like, I want to. All the while combating unworthiness. You know what I'm saying? But your desire was greater than your awareness of your imperfection. Your desire and your want for a better life somehow was a little bit stronger than your thoughts of why you suck and don't deserve one and all the harm you've caused, right? Somewhere along the line, your jury came out and said, no matter what I've done and everything I haven't done, I'm fucking going to get into the doing. I want some of these things. I want a new life, a better life. You took imperfect action, and it's led to every step of the way. You know, when Hip came to me, and, you know, you told this story of the TBM students last night. There was a certain convention. It was in Indiana.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is years ago, and Hip came to me. We weren't even working together yet, but he came to me and asked if he could come to this tattoo show with me and be my apprentice for the weekend and help me run the booth. Empty cup. Humble. Hungry. I said yes. Don't you know, as that weekend approached, I got the flu real bad, was like sick and bedridden and knew I wasn't going to nowhere. Definitely not that show. Instead of just canceling, I obeyed my inner voice and said, just go ahead and give Hip your booth. And immediately he went from humble and hungry, willing to do anything as my apprentice, to now he's on the front lines and it's his booth and he's tattooing at this show and there's heavy hitters. Now, he couldn't have controlled or planned any of that. He just had the right attitude and the right head and heart space, a willingness to get in the game. And he was willing just to take whatever steps. Restoration showed up. Not only restored, but advanced him quickly from apprentice to head artist in this booth at the convention. Right? And that led to so much more.
And that restoration came with a price, because I didn't have money or a car to get me there. So I had to figure that out, which I did. Almost ran out of gas. Didn't have money to even get my hotel room. Still had the desire and the willingness to like sleep on the fucking floor, which whatever, I don't give a fuck. And then that paid off. More restoration came and advancement.
Where did you sleep? And did you figure out how to get a room or not?
No, I slept on a floor in a hotel room with my homies, yeah.
Okay.
All weekend.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that actually made it more fulfilling.
See, and I wonder if we didn't know each other well enough, we didn't communicate, because you know me, I'm usually the type, if I'm sending you, I'll flip the bill too.
Yeah, but I ain't about to ask that, nor am I about to show that, because my ego tells me like, oh,
I'm
shit.
just shocked I didn't even offer. I wonder why.
Well,
I was probably just so sick, or I don't know. Maybe I didn't know you didn't have $1. I don't fucking remember.
Yeah, and I wouldn't let that show anyway,
Yeah.
you know, because I do have martyr syndrome, so just really earning it, you know. But
And
so
you
like,
did.
Ultimately it wasn't that big of a deal, but I also appreciate it because like I don't know. It was just like more grimy and more not perfect and set.
So you found some dudes that let you sleep on their hotel room floor.
It was Caleb and Gabe.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. Okay.
And they had already had a cot brought in, so they couldn't bring another one in, or else it was going to like change a bill or something.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck, I don't give a fuck. I just ripped the pads off the recliner and threw those on the ground and slept there the whole night.
And did you have a blanket?
Weekend. I mean, probably.
Okay.
It don't matter. I'm hot.
Cool.
But yeah, didn't have a thing. Didn't have a tattoo scheduled or nothing. When there was a seminar of an artist I wanted to take, something walked up, it was just a crazy weird fucking tattoo, and I did it, and I made just enough to get back or to pay double for the seminar. Offered to pay double, didn't receive it.
You wanted in this seminar bad.
Yeah, the seats were full already, and I was like, it was 100. I was like, I got 200 to get a seat. And dude was like, we'll work it out. Gave him 100. I was first in fucking line, set up front, took tons of notes, and it was great. And that was a restoration that then turned into like a friendship and like guest spotting and getting tattooed by
with that said artist.
Yeah. So it just it spawned into a bunch of things, and it all started with a desire or imperfect action that led to so much restoration to where speed up now, and it's like even more restoration and going beyond a point to where I thought like this is the peak of the fucking mountain, you can't get really higher than this, and it's like, well, I'm 12 stories fucking past that point now.
Right. Yeah, dude. And what you're speaking to, brother, whether you realize it or not, was you submerged in the process and not even worried about the result. You cared more about the process on the way to the results, because you were just stoked to go to that show and be my apprentice. Your process, you got new results. That wasn't the result you signed up for. You were slammed into being the artist, and I'm not my apprentice. I'm not even there now. But you went through the process no matter what. Broke as fuck. You're by any means necessary. Sleeping on the floor, ain't got a dollar, don't have a client. You're trusting the process. But you're in gratitude. Like, even though you're sleeping on the floor, you ain't got a dollar to your name, and you don't even have an appointment, somehow you were still felt lucky and hungry to be there. And just trusting the process. And then a walk-up came. You knew that seminar was popping off. You wanted to be in it. You knew that's what you wanted. You didn't know the how, but because you trusted the process, you were in the doing. The how revealed itself to you. Here comes a walk-up with the money that you need to get in that seminar. You got into the seminar even though it was full, because you were just in the process, in the doing. More was revealed, and the results that showed up and that it led to, that was manifested in your life, were greater than the results you could have even planned on that day. Everything that happened back then, you wouldn't have planned that just for you to get to go. You were a scared little boy, like you were surrounded by the greats, and now you're getting lunged into the fucking big boy arena. But it's because you just fucking stayed true to the process, and it delivered unto you greater results than what you could have ordered up on your own behalf. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Even I think it was LeBron James that said rituals greater than results.
Right.
It's
funny too, because like even like with you and TBM, I remember the first time you did like that beta testing, it was like fucking up in aisle 9 after it closed, and not even, and it's crazy because this was the time when you weren't even aware of imperfect action, or maybe you were.
I wasn't. I don't.
Well, it definitely was imperfect because like fucking Dusty's booth was the background, and we were fucking sitting all laid back in our fucking chairs like this, and fucking on a little laptop to like 10 or so people with no curriculum, just kind of like going on the fly with it. To where it is now, is fucking huge. To where like people like fucking, well, one for our listeners, fucking Russ Abbott heard about Matt teaching TBM at Hell City and wanted to come and join and see what it was about and fell in love with it. That's fucking dope. So again, who would have known
Right.
where
These
this would have
results.
went if you would have fucking been like, you know, fucking, well, we got to fucking build like this whole fucking studio and make it look perfect and fucking tweak this and tweak that before we can even begin to have the first TBM class.
And that's where friends like you have helped me in my life to just fucking, man, do it, push the button. That's why those of you listeners, he's the one responsible for why we started this show in an unfinished basement with no walls up. Episode 1, if you see episode 1, we don't even have walls up. And then I think episode 2 or 3, you just see studs. Then eventually we put the drywall up, then a paint job, and we ride with just paint. And then it was like months later, we finally added to it. And yes, originally I'd be the guy, we've got to have it all put together first, then launch. And Hip, you know, someone always like, yeah, people say put your best foot forward. Let's see the other foot. And it's friends like Hip in my life. It's like, Matt, Imperfect Action. Show them the ugly foot now. Take them on the journey now. And we stepped into that on this show. And we brought you guys along our own journey from episode 1 to whichever episode today is, 50-something.
57?
Yeah. And so you've seen our growth along the way. We've taken imperfect action. Episode 1 was not perfect. Episode 2 was not none of them have been. But even like our presentation that I care so much about was fucking imperfect.
You know what? We've been lost in this process. There's 52 weeks in a month, and if we're on episode 57, then we fucking...
You mean 52 weeks in a year? I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah, in a year. So we're fucking already past our year anniversary for this show. And that didn't even occur to me.
Well, our official launch date,
right?
Because we recorded 6 months before, but I think we launched in July of last year, right? So we're coming up on... Oh, was it June 1st? So we have passed we forgot our 1 year anniversary.
Yeah.
See, when you just submerged in the process, you can even forget.
And you know,
shit like this, like, oh, we didn't even celebrate our 1 year. We hit 1 year and kept going and just now noticed because we've been fucking in the trenches in the process.
Yeah, there's been a lot that's gone through with this too. It's been a fucking fun journey, and looking back, it's like, damn, it's been fucking. We've already passed our 1 year mark.
Yeah, and
fucking people are dedicated as fucking still message and are excited to see like what next week's post is going to be about, which is fucking crazy because it's, you know, me, Matt, and Josh committed to doing this for 3 years. Like, let's just give it 3 years, and we're like a third of the way done with what our prior commitment was. So it's just fun to see like that it's gaining momentum. And what I think Mike told us that we've already earned $113.
Okay.
Yeah.
Balling out. Hell yeah.
So fucking yeah.
I'll pay for that frame over there. Yeah.
It ain't about the money. Just comes with it because we love what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, but for those of you wondering, we've invested thousands into this show, even the gear and the equipment and all of it. But I like it because when we started out, you know, it was imperfect action. Josh Carlton asked you and I, hey, guys, there's something here. We should maybe start a podcast. What do you think? We're like, huh? You know, and again, I'm like, we're going to do it. We got to do it. We at least need to commit 3 years. I ain't even fucking with it. It takes 3 years to build something great, whatever, you know. And it is fun to be like, well, somewhere along the line, we're doing it. We took imperfect action. We still are, especially today. But we're still in the doing, and more will be revealed. More is clear. And since you're a friend that doesn't mind showing the ugly foot, that's what I feel like today is. Us showing up to say, hey, we're not perfect either. Right? And I just hope that you listeners, that something about today is encouraging it, even if you feel like, oh, cool. Even they don't have it all together, so I'm good. You know? Man.
See, I've been doing it right this whole time.
Man, the Guardians ain't shit neither. We are. Imposters. I thought you guys had it all figured out. You know? I feel like I just met my heroes and I don't like them now. Shit, man. We have grown through a lot.
Yeah.
And we've been through a lot before even our paths crossed. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, both of us should be dead or in prison today. Or could be, if life was fair. You know, the old, you reap what you sow. Well, that's true to a degree, but I'm glad that we don't reap everything we sow.
Right.
You know, that there's a grace period. You know, that's why I love I can't say his last name. Toby Nwigwe. Is that how you say it?
Fuck, I don't know.
MC. I fucking love his heart, you know. But even one of his songs, Father Figure, which is my fucking anthem, even says if you a fraud on your squad, you can still change positions. You know what I'm saying? It's an awareness game. Under the sound of our voice right now, if you've been a fraud to yourself, if you've been a victim, you can still change positions and get on your own fucking team and take imperfect action. Like Kip always says, this ain't your practice life, so now what? What do you really want? And we've been stepping into, striving, growing into what we want so imperfectly, right? But we've fallen in love with the process more so than the results. Yes, our eyes are on the prize. Yes, we have vision, but it's falling in love with the process along the way, like our children. Today, let's play right now. The world is our playground. Let's enjoy the process. Man, there's freedom in that. And that's what I'm still practicing at every level. Did your mom just text you?
Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
Your mom texted me.
Oh, okay. That's right. I forgot your mom can't text.
She can't.
And that pisses you off, don't it?
It does. Which leads into our next episode.
Cunt moms. That's what we were going to call it, right? We just want that to go viral. Jeez. Josh is going to watch this episode and be like, God.
I should have fucking been on.
It's like, I was feeling good, but not now. I'm feeling bad again. Thanks, guy. Just kidding. Oh. I bought myself a Father's Day gift. It's behind you.
I read that last night.
Do you mind reading it to the listeners?
It's a big, giant fucking board, and if you look at us on YouTube, you can see it. People are illogical, unreasonable, and self-centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you are successful, you will win false friends and true enemies. Succeed anyway. The good you do today will be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. People favor underdogs and don't follow, but follow only top dogs. Fight for the underdogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. Giving the world the best you have and you'll get kicked in the teeth. Give the world the best you have anyway.
Yes. I love that. You know, that's apparently a quote from Mother Teresa, but I didn't know that. And you know how on PBS they'll have, I forget what it's called, like Master. It's documentary. PBS offers a slew of documentaries of all kinds of greats and legends and stuff. And one night, me and Katie had one of those rare times where we could actually just sit down and watch something together. This is rare. Happens twice a year. Anyways, decided to watch the documentary on Hedy Lamarr. Do you guys know who Hedy Lamarr is?
Mm-mm.
Back in the day, she was a famous actress, and she was famous for her pretty face. And back then, that was still in the days where women didn't have much whatever. Respect, power, say so, whatever. And Hedy Lamarr was famous for her face as an actress. But she was so fucking smart and so intelligent, and her brain was just... And she would go up and try and talk to different people and scientists. And because she was Hedy Lamarr, because she was a woman, hey, we're not taking you seriously. Shut up and be pretty. Get back and, do your... But Hedy Lamarr, it's a great fucking documentary. And she one day got an invention idea just in her brain and wrote out a new formula on a napkin, which is today what we know as Wi-Fi technology. And Hedy Lamarr created it straight off the dome and wrote the formula for Wi-Fi technology on a fucking napkin. And again, no one would give her the time of day. And she's like, go be pretty, right? And it's a beautiful documentary. And it kind of shows like her fight of getting people to take her seriously, And now today she's passed. Today we all use Bluetooth and Wi-Fi technology. It was created by a woman, Hedy Lamarr, on a fucking napkin. That people didn't receive her then, but the whole world lives with her invention today. And at the end of the document, and you get pissed a little for her that people didn't fucking take her serious, and she fought and she was like abused and let down or whatever. And at the end of her life, she said that quote, to do it anyways. Give the world your best anyways. And it's a powerful documentary. And that's why, another reason why I love that quote is I love those words that you just read, but to put it in actual perspective of a woman's life who fought so hard and wasn't given the credit's due. To this day, she's not given the credit. That's why I'm trying to give her some right the fuck now. But she did it anyways. It's beautiful. She, in my book, was never given the results that she deserved. But somehow, she still was in love with the process and did it anyways. And I'd like to think that even though she's passed, that she's still getting the rewards, the result that she deserves somehow, even if it's in the other realms, that she's finally getting it. Even if she can hear me say it right now. Thank you, Hedy Lamarr. You're an inspiration to me, right? She did it anyways. No matter what, even if people don't like us, we're going to do it anyways. Well, Hip, thanks for helping me practice just letting go and just being free and all that good shit today. Next week we'll come back. I'll be fully prepared for you all. I'm just kidding. So usually when we're done recording, we say goodbye. Thanks. We'll see you next week. Then we stop recording. Then what do? We look at each other.
How'd that go?
What do you ask
think?
Ourselves?
Yep.
How you think that one went?
Yeah.
And usually one or two of you are like, yeah, good. Right? Everyone, if there's ever any of us that fights for a redo, it's always been me. You've never been like, we should redo that, I'm always like, could have been better.
I did the very first one, and then I realized that if I keep this up, it's going to be a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first one was your story, wasn't it?
Yep.
Okay, and you weren't happy with it.
Fuck no.
Man, that's got to be tough because it was your story. It was your up at bat, and you weren't happy with your swings.
No, I fucking struck out.
Damn. Huh? Why? You say probably why? Got you.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can get with that. If I'd known that, I'd be like, dude, we can give you a redo. But you let it go.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
And it's affected a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Even though it wasn't fucking, I don't know how. But it did. But that's not for me to worry about.
Okay. And I like that you truly don't. This is where Todd's always tried to help me to take responsibility, know that you have an impact, and then not to be attached to the outcome. And you're real good at doing that. Let's come in here, turn these mics on, drop some shit, and then you're not even attached to the outcome. You back in your car rolling down the road on to the next, not even thinking about it. I'm waiting on Mike to edit it so I can watch it and then decide. You know what I'm saying? He don't watch any episode. I watch every one and study it, how we could do better, right?
This one's definitely getting released. It's fire.
Is it?
Yeah, it was so much that when I go back to do the intro, I'm going to talk about how you're under pressure, and we'll get more into that. as the episode goes along because I actually appreciate it.
Well, okay, and that's why I'm not waiting till we hang up to discuss how you think it went.
Yeah, and I appreciated you even saying that so our viewers can like see
behind the scenes.
Yeah,
because usually we turn it off. I'm like, thanks, we'll see you next week, and we turn it off. And I'm like, okay, what do you guys really think? And 9 out of 10 times we're like, hey, I think it went pretty good, right? But let's pretend. Thanks, bye, see you. What do you guys really think?
I enjoyed the fact that fucking it felt like it felt like how we talked to like we're debating before the cameras are rolling.
Yeah. And
but there's a sense of us kind of like still smiling and acknowledge that there's a camera.
I know, and I don't think we fell into our natural state of doing that. Or I didn't. I was trying to.
No, I could see it because you were fucking bouncing the whole time, and your eyes just looked desperate. Like, God, I can't wait to get this over with so we don't release shit next week. I could totally fucking see it.
No, I was thinking, what other day can we get together this week and do a good one?
And even the fact now, because you told me not to even acknowledge the cameras, like, fuck them cameras. I'm pretending that this isn't even going to be aired.
We should have done that from the beginning.
Oh, I'm always down for that. I'm so fucking game for that shit because just I don't know, it reminds me of like if you listen to like early Joe Rogan shit, like they didn't even know what the fuck they were doing or talking and fucking weird shit, aliens and
was
fucking
it good?
It was very entertaining.
Okay.
And especially seeing now he's gotten better at it over the years. So it's like I prefer to listen to the new shit because he's very informative and he's a good interviewer and he asks good questions, which is I think that's things all three of us could work on is like being a better interviewer.
Yeah.
If it's even with ourselves or not. But like what happened today was more like I don't know, like fucking us going on a car ride, kind of, but we still are aware that there's people looking at us, But so more like walking through the grocery store talking about shit.
So do you think today went well?
Oh, yeah.
And you really have no qualms about dropping this episode?
Not at all.
Great. I couldn't feel more opposite. How do you feel, Mike? For real?
Mike said it was perfect.
And Mike's
listeners.
always like, for whatever reason, Mike's always my truest gauge. Like, your opinion matters to me deeply, but if I really want to feel good about today's show, I always ask Mike, tell me how did it really. If Mike says it's good, I can usually take it to the bank that it is, even if I don't understand, like right now. Like, I don't know why you're saying this one is like, but I'm just going to have to trust you. I guess we'll see.
I'm being the perfectionist, and I got the pressure on me because I'm comparing my insides to another.
You're talking to me, you look like you're looking at some camera.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. There's no one listening.
That's right. There ain't. Ain't no one gonna write no comments. They stick around long enough to hear you ask. No. Well. It's times like this I just have to remember what the fuck really matters and chalk it up to my favorite quote from Mr. Mike Cierno-Yatsky, which is all I know is love is the answer. And I don't even know what the question is. I don't even remember what the question was, but all I know is love is the answer. I know I love you boys. I love you listeners. And thanks for being along with us on this journey. The ins and outs, the ups and downs, the goods, the perceived bad, whatever. The good ones, the ones I perceive aren't good. We love you all, and thanks for being on this journey with us and sharing vulnerability with us today and our imperfections, but yet still in action. Hopefully something today resonated with you. If it did, please let us know. Thanks for your faithful support, your love, your listening, your messages. It means a lot to us, doesn't it, Hip?
It does.
I know we say it every time, but we fucking mean it. You know? You want to leave them with anything before we really wrap it up?
Don't sweat the petty shit and don't pet the sweaty shit.
Tight. Till next week. Love y'all. Bye.